Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host is currently in talks to move our podcast exclusively to Spotify for the princely sum of 10p and a bag of frazzles, Dr. Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm good. Actually, how are you, Rich?
I'm all right. I heard that one of the sticking point was you wanted to add in some chipsticks to the deal.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe not a whole pack, but a few.
For a few, yes.
And they're holding fast.
For a few chipsticks more.
For a few chipsticks more. Yeah.
Also, Rich, as well, I decided to maybe just do something a little bit different in these crazy times. I've actually written an intro for myself that I'd like you to deliver. And unfortunately, the reference is later than Jos van Aken's tackle last week for the reopening of the Bundesliga leagues. As he gave away a penalty, didn't he? Didn't he just? He
did. Oh, it's right. Okay. Let me have a sort of one read through in my head so that I can.
Are you going to do that thing where you read them like?
Animal Crossing style.
Animal Crossing, Rich.
My co-host Tom Nook. It's a quite sinister storyline, Animal Crossing. This man that you meet once, takes you to a mystery island and then immediately puts you into debt. But anyway. By the way, it cost a pretty penny to get you here, so pay me back first. Right. Okay. So, welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, joining me as ever, is my co-host, a man who is looking to follow in the footsteps of his Great White North compatriot, Brian Adams, in getting seriously cancelled. It's everyone's favourite double denim Wednesdayite who both cuts like a knife and remembers when he bought his first six-string, Dr. Luke Gledall.
Thank you.
It was the summer of '69, I believe.
It was. I bought it at the 5 and dime.
Oh, and how much did you play it at first? Because it takes a while to get your digits used to it.
Actually, unfortunately, I played it until my fingers bled.
Oh, that's dedication.
So, yeah, I'm still bad at it, really.
Have you ever seen the? I think it's a DHL advert which has got Brian Adams in it. It's like basically like this parcel is going all around the world and then arrives and he's basically just about to go on stage and it's handed to him his guitar. And that is really terrible planning from Adams. I know, like, you want to be as unencumbered as possible when you're traveling, but to leave your guitar behind and hope that the postal service gets it to you in time for just stepping on stage in front of a sold-out crowd, it's woeful planning, isn't it?
That is woeful planning. But maybe he can't stop the thing he started when he said send.
Lovely stuff.
I had a real difficulty with that reference, referencing a lot of Brian Adams stuff into that, because his songs just don't work well for that feature. Also, I'm not going to make a reference to what he said, but if you didn't hear what he said, you should Google it and be like, oh wow.
I have no idea actually what was being referenced there. So yeah, okay, I'm going to do it.
I would quote it, but it probably would come across a bit Ron Atkinson. Ron Atkinson reported speech that gets him into trouble himself. So
yes. A sort of fond memory for me in my youth was we were actually it was a trip to. Oh, okay, yes. Sorry, I've just seen what. Wow. Yeah, that's not fun, is it, really? Yeah, well, so my first trip to Canada, me and a group of friends went over probably kind of GCSE summer, I think, or maybe end of sixth form summer. And we were in a car with the sort of daughter of the family we were staying with, and she talked about how she'd never bought I think her first album she ever bought was Brian Adams, and it was the one with the sort of the Robin Hood song on it. And in her haste to buy it, and presumably the sort of lack of availability of the CD, him being a Canadian star and her being in Canada, she ended up buying the instrumental version of the album. And she had it in the car, so 4 of us Brits wailed along to that gorgeous tune. And I imagine it's one of her fondest memories, because it was good for me, and I wasn't even being sung to. I think pretty special times for that young lady. Yeah. Can't tell me it's not worth fighting for.
Good stuff. Oh. Anyway, I think we should maybe stop talking about Bryan Adams and talk about what little there is of football to talk about.
We'll go through the old rigmarole. We'll play the drop. We'll
partial hoo-hoos.
So there's a couple of, there's still little, curds of nonsense dribbling out of the mouth of the EFL to immediately clarify and then also make things hazy again in the same sentence. But the latest statement is this sort of ruling that there will be promotion and relegation, so that as long as the Premier League let them, there will be clubs that go up to the Premier League, and at the bottom end of things, there will be teams that fall out of the Football League. The other part of that announcement was that it's only going to take a simple majority of the clubs to decide whether the season continues or is cancelled, which probably paves the way for League Two and League One to be cancelled. And they're doing a simple points per game ratio, aren't they? It's not weighted in any way. It's just a standard points per game. The Championship is a bit trickier, but I think if you kind of add up the teams that will feel that they've got a chance of promotion with the teams who are already in the relegation zone and won't want to have that be their fate, you quite quickly get to the number of clubs you need, which would be 13. So I think probably that means Championship is going to finish in some way, not be cancelled, not drawing a halt. We're going to play the remainder of the season and have playoffs. So any particular feelings on all of that sort of coming out this week, Luke?
I just the season is undead. The season is a zombie effectively.
Yeah.
And I just want it to be magically be cured and come back to life, or we'll take a double barrel shotgun to its dome, basically. I want to. We're still doing this podcast. We're still scraping around the kitchen like rats for any kind of debris of kind of football morsels that kind of fall.
For balance, we're still serving up wonderful, interesting content all these weeks later. But yes, go on. Sorry. With the BBC was scrupulously balanced.
Well, Rich and I are basically turned into little animated ratatouilles. But we can't, and we're trying to make some dishes ourselves, but there's kind of limited ingredients to just really go with this analogy. So I just want, I'm personally, I'm just going to kind of say is I do enjoy doing this. I do enjoy speaking to you, but part of me is a little bit like, I just want this to be over. I just want the season to be over so we can just draw a line under this season. Our inaugural insane different gravy podcast first season.
It is kind of
Wednesday.
It's kind of crazy that I think we're almost exactly 2 months from the first cancelled game of football, and we still don't really know what's happening next.
The thing that surprised me is everything's incredibly reactionary.
Yeah.
Like, I thought they would have had these conversations, like to say, look, so if they're going to meet, they're going to say, look, we don't know. Let's say they meet at, I don't know, maybe even just to be generous, the end of March, and they say, hey guys, if the season's coming back, what would you like? Vote on these ideas. But they haven't even done that though until now.
But then the clarity we have from the leaders of this country doesn't lend itself to clarity elsewhere. We had an announcement a couple of weeks ago, which was you can have a cleaner in your house, but you can't have a grandparent visit. You can go to a park, but if you know more than one person in that park, you have to leave the park. It's just full of nonsense. Go to work, don't go to work, said the Prime Minister on a Sunday evening with the world watching. It's just full of waffle and nonsense, and in that we're asking football to provide a kind of leadership that it always shies away from, and it's just doing what it normally does and kind of flailing around and not showing much clarity at all. But I don't think it helps. We just don't know what's going on centrally, what's allowed, what's not allowed. It's different in different countries. So for the championship, Swansea and Cardiff will likely have different rules around sort of social isolation and things like that than England has. I'm in a weird position. I live in England, but I work over the border in Wales, and we're not allowed to cross that border at the moment. So it's wacky. The official response is bizarre. So to be fair to football, for them to suddenly know what was going on would be quite amazing at this point in time, because the Prime Minister doesn't know, and we've just found out that like his top aide has completely disregarded any of the rules that were put in place as well.
I just want to go back to a piece of your personal life, Rich. So since you can't go to work over the border, has that delayed your plans to record yourself doing a homage to the opening of Sopranos?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's been my dream for the whole time we've been in lockdown to do such an homage, and I still can't. It's really difficult.
Woke up this morning and you turned on the computer for your home office, maybe.
Yeah. Woke up this morning, took a seat at the kitchen table, which is where my office has been for 2 months now. The other sort of brighter bit of news was that young Matt Penny, out on loan at Saint-Pauli, they're not French, but it sounds French. The German Bundesliga 2 club has been awarded sort of best goal of the season so far. So that's quite a nice thing.
Could you possibly read out the St. Pauli tweet, Rich?
Oh, I might be able to try. Along with partners Bwin Sportwetten, we asked fans to vote on their goal of the season so far in our Instagram page. One goal soon made the running. The Henk was not far away. 54% to 46%. Congrats, Matt_Penny7 for this rocket in the derby. What say you at SWFC? ? So that's the official announcement made. I think that it's a good goal. I think context is important to it being goal of the season, because it was away in a back and forth derby, and that always adds to the quality of an effort, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And the winner, no less, in that back and forth derby. I hope he gets a chance at Wednesday.
I would like it too, but I'm still not entirely sure if it's something that's going to happen. I don't know. I don't really know who's really kind of seen or kind of thinks. I don't quite even know what to think of Matt Penny at this stage. I think he's someone who's at times absolutely brilliant and at times exactly what we need, and maybe other times maybe not exactly what we need. So I don't know. I mean, the players that obviously maybe we need players like that just because even with inconsistencies, they can kind of spark something, some moments of brilliance. But I think I would have liked to have seen just a bit more from what I feel like I know about Matt Penny. It's been, I think this season's been a little bit disappointing for him. And then I think it was disappointing for him. He signed that contract and then had an injury. So I don't know. I don't really know who sees what with the youth team. That's the thing that kind of bothers me a little bit.
Yeah. I think with a young player, a bit of inconsistency it's sort of the price you pay, because hopefully in time you've got somebody that's, has more of those good days than bad days, and therefore they're somebody worth having around the squad. I think if you're like 20 odds or under, and maybe you have a period where you have a few more bad games than good games, but there's enough glimmers in there, then you've probably earned your right to have a chance at it, I think. Mm-hmm. It was what was strange with him was, I mean, we had the contract thing, which meant he didn't play for a long time. then he had the injury. But what was really strange was he looked pretty good as a left back, which is not really his thing. And then when he was played further forward, which is nominally his position, being a left winger, he didn't look very good at all. He really struggled to get into games when he played further up the field, and he looked so useful and interesting as a prospect when he was playing left back. He had some good games though. Was it Villa away?
He did. Well, Villa at home, he was fantastic, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe if we played Villa every week, he would be the guy.
Maybe, and then we can maybe bring back Sean Clare to.
Light things up.
Sean Flair.
Sean Flair. He's another one that seems to. The grass was not that green north of the border. His Hearts team having been relegated with the finish of their season. It's interesting that a name from a few years ago, Hayden White, has sort of popped up again because he's been released by his club Mansfield Town, and that was one of the first of these kind of seeing our best potential young players be snapped up by other clubs. Mm-hmm. Because Hayden White, we got some compensation, I think, from Bolton when they sort of took him off our hands. But his career has gone basically nowhere. I mean, he's, as we keep saying, it's a good thing to be a professional footballer if you kind of make a living of it. Well done. In many ways you've kind of won the day, to quote Semedo. But I can't imagine being released by Mansfield Town. It was a big step on the ladder that he was hoping to reach quite so soon in his career. And similarly, Sean Clare, we had a couple of good performances, a couple of so-so performances. I think there was maybe one or two bad performances, and then disappears north of the border. That got a better offer. But again, he's had 1 year of struggle, and then another year where Hearts were pretty much rooted to the bottom of the table for the whole season. So he's going to be playing Scottish First Division football, which is probably somewhere sort of League Two level in terms of quality and prizes on offer. So it's an interesting thing. I mean, you'd hope Penny would sort of look at that and go, if I can get some assurances that I'll get some game time at Wednesday, maybe I'll give it a try. We don't have it. But then he's not going to replace Morgan Fox if we keep him. He's probably not going to replace Kadeem Harris who we will keep. So how many times is he going to get to play? Tricky. Mm-hmm. But he had that thing where he looks a decent size, like he's a reasonable athlete to start off with, which is a big thing. Because so many youth players come through and you're like, they are 4 foot tall and they've not got a scrap of meat on them. They are not going to be playing top level football anytime soon. They look like a kid amongst adults, and the signs at that stage are generally not particularly good. Most players who burst onto the scene are at least kind of toe to toe as athletes with the people they're stood on the pitch with. They tend to have stood out and jumped through the ranks because of the athleticism they have. They're bigger, they're taller, they're stronger, they're quicker. And then they've got a bit of skill on top. And I think that was the thing with Clare and Penny. They looked the part when they started playing. They didn't look like little lads. Something I think Alex Hunt unfortunately has is that he does look quite slight and young, but decent. Maybe he'll be decent in time. I don't know. It's a big summer for him, I presume. Anyway, right. We should we move along?
Let's do it. Let's move along.
So we enjoyed doing the watch along last week. It would be a lie to say that we had huge amounts of positive feedback, but nobody actually complained. So we thought we decided to do the same sort of thing again. So this time round, we're going to take in Sheffield Wednesday versus Arsenal from the 27th of October 2015. And when we were looking through the games shared by the club, the reason this stood out to me was I feel that this was probably our best whole game performance under Carlos. And we sort of enjoyed maybe the tail end of the good stuff with Carlos in the last game we watched. This was very much kind of early days, but when we were really finding our footing and starting to enjoy life under our Portuguese manager. So I thought this would be a fun one to watch. This one I was actually at live and enjoyed wholeheartedly at the time. Were you able to follow it because we were playing a big club?
I think it was, yeah, because it was one of the ones that was selected for TV, so I think I did manage to catch some of it live. I seem to remember getting very excited and very happy with what was going on. I felt like some of it I missed because I wasn't too kind of optimistic for this game, and then someone told me otherwise, and I was like, oh, okay, and I put it on, and yes, it was a... So I did manage to see quite a bit of this delight, but it'll be nice to revisit and watch it again.
Like one of those moments from a film. Somebody texts you and said, "You better put your TV on, man.
You ain't gonna believe this."
And you stood in the shop window watching the TV.
That was it, exactly. Yeah.
A crowd gathered.
The myriad of the TV wall.
Yes. Should we just jump into it?
Let's do this.
We'll sort of pick up lineups as we go. I do remember Arsenal suffering some injuries very early doors, but we'll do a countdown. So we'll do 3, 2, 1, play. Some chap getting a photo taken on the pitch, an early highlight. So,
some lovely Sky Sports graphics.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeremy Hellan, as you're going to say, Rich.
Yeah, Hellan had a bit of a starring role in this game. So he was sharing the left wing with Pudil. Joao was up front on his own. We've got Bannon playing, Hutch, Wallace, Hunt, and Kieran Lee.
A bit prime Carvajal in terms of lineups, right?
Yeah, this is good stuff. Arsenal, confusingly, there's a Twitter account I follow, which is
I was going to say the same thing. Awake It Watch, yes.
Yes, and this definitely is a heinous crime in terms of the kit that they're wearing, because Arsenal, who normally wear red and white, but mainly red, are wearing sort of navy and light blue against us. So a kit much, much closer to our own in colour than their home kit. But there you go. You know, sponsors have got to get what they agree in the contract.
I kind of like this Arsenal kit, but it is insane.
It's a sexy kit, very skin tight. It's a nice design. No, I like it.
But then the weird of the blue on the black, the back with a light blue, it is madness as an away kit. I like it, but the gold on the badge is quite nice as well. That's quite fun. Ooh, Ross Wallace.
Might have been 10 years from when they last won a trophy, maybe something like that, or won the league. So I remember at the time when I was sort of gushing about how wonderful this performance was to, you know, anyone that would listen, counting up that there was more than 200 international caps amongst the Arsenal lineup. You definitely couldn't say it's not a first team Arsenal lineup, but it's a lot of first team players and certainly a lot of international players. Joao just trying to nip in and take the ball. A real talent of his, chasing down that back line. So Hutch is,
and we're already even in these early throws quite the equal to these.
This is Oxlade-Chamberlain's done, by the way. He lasted so little time, and I remember saying Walcott hadn't warmed up at all. Walcott comes on, and he got injured straight away as well.
Well, that was the whole thing. I remember there was like an Arsenal fan on Twitter who was complaining about the standard of the pitch at Hillsborough and claiming that was the reason why Walcott was injured. And it was actually like, no, actually the reason why was because Walcott didn't actually warm up enough.
Yeah, he didn't even go for a jog before he came on. Despite the fact that Chamberlain had done the right thing and had a word in the physio's ear, so they should have been preparing subs. Yeah, my sister and I sat right behind the benches basically for this game. We
really
a bit of ground hopping. Yeah, we like to go on fun holidays when it's cup games. There he is. He's
there
down.
He is. He's down.
Pulling a Wim Jonk, sitting down saying, I'm sore.
This was an intensely early substitution.
Yeah.
There we go.
So Wednesday, to complete the Wednesday lineup, it's Westwood in goal, Tom Lees and Louvens as the two centre-backs.
Mind you, how much warm-up can you do in that space? But no, I'm also thinking you've warmed up prior to this. You've warmed up, you've gone down.
That might have been what they were thinking. But if you're the sub, you don't warm up in the same way as a starting player warms up. You go through completely different drills.
Yeah. Don't want those players to be too prepared, right?
No, that would be terrible.
So I was right in this, the fact that like Oxlade Chamberlain was done because if Walcott comes on, Walcott then gets injured.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how long maybe 10 minutes or something like that.
I wanted to say 15 minutes, but I thought it was like 15 minutes for Chamberlain myself. But yeah, just makes it all the more hilarious, really.
Yeah. So the Arsenal team, they got Peter Cech in goal, so a very, very good goalkeeper. Gibbs, Mertesacker, Chambers, and I'm not quite sure who's playing right back at the moment. We'll get a look later. Flamini was in midfield. And I know Joel Campbell was playing this game as well, who never really sort of made any great shakes at Arsenal, but I think he's gone on to... Well, had a good international career, and I think he's gone on to do pretty well in Spain now as well. So Walcott goes for a sprint very, very early doors. He's hounding after Louvens and Westwood. He might be gone by 10 minutes looking at the pace that he set off at. Oh my goodness, look at Wallace eating up the ground there. That was the big thing he lost. Wallace lost his pace, unfortunately, and it was a bigger part of his game probably than he and everyone else knew, because he was nominally more of a tricky winger than a quick guy. But he was no slouch. Oh, movement's really nice. Kieran Lee just seems to have a free role to just find spaces, which is something he does rather well.
And we seem to have switched to a lot of just a update on the football boots. There's not a lot of the earplug boots, as I kind of
a lot of silvery.
The kind of swizzle stick.
Yes. Well, interestingly though, all the Arsenal players have them, so maybe that's one of those things where it's like they say Wales is like 10 years behind in terms of fashion and things like that. Maybe the Championship is a season behind in terms of football fashion, because they've all got orange boots on, the Arsenal players. I remember Hodge getting away with a stinker of a tackle in the first half as well. Just an absolute should have been sent straight off. Should have been sent home, really. Bit of a spawny foul there by Helen. So it's a little bit bitty. Maybe the fact they've had to make a sub. It's not really. There's not much flow to the game thus far.
So it's a real blow to lose Jeremy Holland to his religion and his desires to, no longer play football as part of that. We paid a nominal fee for him, right?
I think so. I think he was with us. He definitely had a contract renewal with us. I think he was with us for 5 years after he signed. Yeah. Are we the only club ever to have lost a player to Islam? Just think. Weirdly in my head, I'd sort of you know how sort of, all memory is false kind of thing. For some reason, I thought Helan had left when Dave Jones was the manager.
I was going to say exactly the same. So I'm kind of surprised to see him here in the Carvajal era. Which then, if he left under Dave Jones, he wouldn't have been present under Stuart Gray.
Exactly. So it doesn't really work. And I remember him having our kind of last gasp effort against Hull in the playoff final. So, my own memory doesn't add up to itself. But I think I remember what I think's got mixed up is I remember him being called Mukhtar for the first time by Dave Jones. Dave Jones called him Mukhtar, didn't he? Which is sort of his name taken under the religion. So that might be my brain has kind of conflated that fact with him then leaving for religious reasons.
Yeah.
Even though the two events presumably were at least 3 years apart. Because Helan even played... Oh, great pace from Helan, harrying them. Helan even played a few games the year after this, which I found very surprising when I looked it up.
Yeah, it's a very kind of spot. I mean, he was never... Near the end, he was never seen as like a first-team regular, but...
No. But he did score that great first game for Carlos at Hillsborough. Was it a 3-2 win? He scored the winning goal in that, didn't he? Or he set it up. It was Nuiu doing a Nuiu and then putting the ball out, spraying the ball out to the wing. And I think maybe it was a goal. Oh, it's not Westwood in goal.
There's a Joe Waldsworth, top 40
it's
Joe.
Top 40 Joe.
Oh, some remonstrating from Carlos there. I liked his little kind of sheepskin lining. That was always nice.
It's gorgeous. It's a classy dude. Fudil, full on mohawk. These were great times.
Again, we've got that surprise kind of callback to remembering Tom Lees having some composure.
Yeah.
I don't even remember also Hutchinson getting this far back as well.
He's really in a 3 at the back, isn't he? When we lose possession. Walcott's still going strong. Pudil's, got in a bit on him there, but we're on Walcott. Oh, Debussy. So they're another very decorated international player, Debussy. So yeah, this is not a bad Arsenal team by any stretch. Giroud is up front for them. The midfield is pretty inexperienced, apart from Flamini, because I think Campbell's.
Well, that was the thing. It was I think the definite thing about this game was it certainly wasn't a second team by any stretch.
No,
for Arsenal. And I think also the thing that kind of frustrated me, especially with after this, was maybe a little bit from what I kind of heard or gathered from the kind of media and the lovely London-centric TalkSport radio. There seemed to be kind of that mentality of like, oh, well, Arsenal must have been really bad then. And it was like, no, actually...
We were just really good.
We were just really good, I think, is the main one.
But it's been kind of 12 and a half minutes of really feeling out more than anything, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, top 40 Joe. Before he had his lovely flowing locks.
Before he went a bit Tommy Lee-esque.
Yes.
The goalkeeper, not the Motley Crue drummer.
Both.
Former Pamela Anderson.
He's been all up in Pamela Anderson's DMs. I've got the boat, Pam. I've got the boat.
Lovely. Lovely.
Oh dear.
I've even still got a Pammy bottle of Virgin. I don't know what accent was. I'm so sorry.
It's gone clear, but
You know.
Do you remember that? Virgin Cola, that was a wild time to be alive.
It was a wild time to be alive. We were like, another cola? Another prominent cola?
And it tastes almost exactly like Tesco's own brand.
Remember Tesco's own brand being like... Remember they actually even advertise their own cola?
Yeah.
Which is something they don't really, well, a lot of brands don't do that. Supermarkets don't specifically, you come to Tesco, you come to Sainsbury's. So that was interesting. Yeah, so we were like a third cola. We were like...
They did a lot of those taste testing.
But surely the prominent cola in the UK is Roller Cola and Panda Pops. That's what we said, wasn't it, Rich? Yes. How can it beat Roller Cola and Panda Pops?
Panda Pops. But they did a lot of that kind of, 62% of people said they preferred, in a blind taste test, 62% of 30 people asked.
62% of cats.
Yeah. Said they felt happier with a Virgin Cola. But then, they did the Pammy bottle. Kind of Mrs. Butterworth-esque curvy bottle. So...
Walcott's down, 15 minutes.
Your man Walcott's down, bang on 15. Holding his scarf, I believe. So there wasn't much, was there? He went for a bit of a sprint. He's barely touched the ball. I think he's touched the ball twice, maybe, since he came on. And just seeing that Steve Bold was wearing Puma Kings, maybe just to mock the fact that he ruined David Hurst's career. You see, he sat next to Wenger, and there's his Puma Kings on there.
That's a very deep cut reference, isn't it, from Steve Bold? I wonder if one person got it.
Those are the
just
best.
Got an image of you turning to Susan going, is Steve Bold wearing Puma King because he ruined David Hurst's career?
I think that's what you want in terms of a niche joke. Just one person enjoying it. And not even fully enjoying it, just on a kind of academic level, acknowledging that there's a reference there.
Mm. little Easter egg in this one.
Yeah. So he's fit enough to walk off. He's not even limping.
Well, they were saying hamstring.
Hamstring.
Mm.
A deeply, deeply injured man. Oh, is he going to come back on? He's stretching out like he's going to come back on.
He's going to come off, though, isn't he?
He does come off eventually, but maybe he has another little run around before that happens.
A little nibble.
So both teams just stroking it around the back like they're real good footballers.
Oh, the audacity of you guys stroking it around like you're real good footballers. Oh, what a lovely risky little chip out from
I know.
From Moche.
And trapped beautifully by Tom Lees, who didn't poo his pants at all. This was just always a lovely sight under Carlos, was just when we went through you do passy, nicey, and then just when it's turned, we upped the pace of the passing and the movement, and just it felt like nobody could stick with us when we went through the phases like that. So Walcott came back on, basically moaned to the bench the whole time, and Flamini's just kicked it out, and now we are ending up with the child coming on, I think, for Walcott.
So the rarity of a situation where, I love the stats of where you have a position that's been substituted twice.
Yes.
And already you're 18 minutes down and you've eaten through two subs.
And you've gone from future England international, current England international to someone called Bannister.
Ismail bannock cake.
Yes.
And I've had a bannock cake, and it's flat, and it's wheaty, and it's disgusting.
There you go.
Did you ever enjoy bannock cake, Rich?
I don't. To be honest, I couldn't pick it out of a lineup. A bannock cake.
I knew we used to make one. It was part baked, so it was from frozen. I hope I'm not going to get any trouble with my first employers, Sainsbury's, the bakery at Sainsbury's.
Oh.
They brought it in, it was part baked, and we always seemed to make one or sometimes two if it was a busy day.
Okay.
Someone would buy one, but it was like, I just didn't understand. It just looked like this grotty, flat, brown bread.
Doesn't sound very appealing, it's got to be said.
I kind of want to go back and have it again now. I don't know if I ever had it or whether I just purely formulate an opinion on how it looked. Which is valid, as we all know.
Exactly. In that way that people go like, oh, it tastes like sick or something. You're like, oh, sick's a bad example because, that's in our mouths. It tastes like poo. And you're like, how do you know? It's like, well, I've smelled poo and I know what I think it tastes like. And the visual equivalent of that is you looking on at that bannock cake, scorn in your eyes, and just imagining how miserable and dry it would be to put in your mouth.
And as we all say, you can judge a book by its cover.
It's a famous expression for a reason, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a valid position to take.
And with the sort of homogeny in the print industry, you can judge a book by and large by its cover. Crime writer font. There's that sort of handwritten in red font that's used for all the awful childhood stories. So you can get, and there's definitely a rom-com-esque look to a book as well. Picture of a city, cheery writing for the title. So to an extent, judge away.
What do you think? Good pressure. Some great pressure and great kind of break.
Liam Slough doubling up to
break.
Put the pressure on, put the squeeze on, but.
Slightly kind of wrong footing from Wallace there, I think it was. Anyway.
Quite the tackle.
Full-blooded tackle.
And the ref, having not spoken to him for that, really has made his own bed for what comes later. It was a full-blooded fair tackle, it has to be said. He won the ball.
I was going to say, the fact that you've lost two players to injury and you've made two substitutions within the first 20 minutes of a 90-minute game, do you think? I mean, I think for fans, it feels you get a feel of the energy of being on the other side of that and being on the other team it feels like an advantage.
Oh yeah, definitely. It felt actually as it happened. It felt like neither of them had probably warmed up. Because I Scram, who's the physio contributor to, maybe he's more than a physio. Maybe I'm doing a disservice there, but he knows an awful lot about physio, and injuries and things like that. I believe he was involved at a professional club for a long time. But yeah, contributor to Owls Talk. I think he's basically said something along the lines of effectively, like, if you're injured in the first 5 minutes, you didn't warm up properly. If you have a and I think he specifically said like hamstring injuries are all about how well you warm up. So if your hamstring goes, you've just not done a very good job of your warming up. So it sort of felt it felt like they expected to turn up and just roll us over, and had kind of warmed up in that style.
In that regards.
So the fact that they both lasted sort of a combined 15 minutes, it really felt like mentally like we probably want this quite a bit more than they do. And it was just a case of putting that on the pitch, I think.
But I think that just gives a bit more kind of lift behind our kind of belief in this game.
Yes.
Like it definitely, like it feels to me as an observer at the time, and it'd feel that way if I was at the game. Like you'd have a feeling of like, we can do something here. We can get something from this.
The other game where the similar sort of thing happened was that the semi-final against Brighton. Because they had, I think, 2 or 3 players go down injured, and you just really felt like the pressure that the team and the crowd are putting on them is just so overwhelming that they are physically breaking down. It just all kind of fed in, and I'm sure the players fed into that as well. You know, we're getting the better of this, guys. They're dropping like flies. I thought you were going to ask, by the way, if it's ever a tactical thing. You know, like if a team's made all their subs and you've got a battering ram like Sam Hutchinson, and do you ever go like, right, just have at it, Sam? If you take a leg, they've got no one to replace them with. But Warnock would do that. I bet Warnock's done that.
I bet he has.
All 3 subs, lads, get at
it. Imagine if we were a porcine persuasion and we were doing this. Would we be doing the Battle of Bramall Lane as a watch-along?
Oh, probably.
It's probably there.
To enjoy the...
It's on their honours board, isn't
it? Yeah, exactly.
No sending offs in the game?
Yes. Wow. Joao really bought that. Bought that foul. Touch the ball, fall over, hope for the best. We're taking a long time to take this as well. Oh.
Possession to Arsenal, 35%. Lovely locks from Glenn Louvens.
I know. He's a gorgeous looking man. It's got to be said.
Mm-hmm. But so saying that roughly, 2/3 of possession is Arsenal and 1/3 of it is. It doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel that we're that kind of far out from. But again, a bit like similar to I think how you were saying previously was that how is the lack of possession
was often an indicator
works
being better, yeah.
Better under Carvajal, yeah.
Well, in this example, really, where Arsenal have had possession has been in their own half. We've not bothered chasing them round their own defensive area, but as soon as they got to the halfway line, we've generally put a squeeze on and won the ball back. This is the first goal.
There we go. What a beautiful ball. He's going to check it back. And there's the finish. Just absolutely textbook.
And a great celebration. Just the switch. It's that switch again. Kind of going from passing it round to just... the danger is immediate. There's no chance for them to get back onto a defensive footing. Yeah, Haaland breaks forward, passes it to Bannon, flicks it over. It's nice getting replays, isn't it? Flicks it over the top for, gorgeous pass. Pudiel's cutback is fantastic as well. And Wallace has a lot to do still. Beats 2 men to the ball and slots it into the bottom corner. It's a tremendous finish. He's giving it the big on in front of the Arsenal fans.
He's absolutely loving it, isn't he?
Oh, his little cheeky Dundonian face. So I suppose in some ways, given the possession and things like that, you'd kind of say, it wasn't against the run of play necessarily, but it was maybe against the kind of feel of the game. But nobody had really made any chances to that point. We just, we were the first one to show any ambition attacking wise.
Yeah, the only thing was that Was that Giroud offside where he was playing? Where who knows whether that was actually his genuine finish or whether it's that kind of bit where you kind of know, and then there's a bit of your belief has kind of gone, and you just hit it at the keeper because you're there, and it's you're perfunctorily seeing out the offside play, which, as they were saying, it wasn't actually offside.
Yeah,
but well, maybe if we bring in VAR, maybe it is. Who knows?
Who knows? We don't have any of these difficult conversations around offsides anymore because of VAR. Solved it. Boom. Next.
VAR, which may go out the window with Project Restart. So we're going to have a competition that has changes rules mid-season.
Wait till you see this tackle back. It's a nasty one.
I don't remember Sam Hutchinson wearing 4. Even in the history of crazy squad numbers. 4's always a difficult kind of squad number in the history of football.
Mm.
You know, it's not quite that. I love the look on his face there.
Oh. I mean, he's taken the ball, but he has gone in on him, hasn't he?
I love how he jumps up to roll around.
Yes. There's a really good interview with Sam Hutchinson talking mental health with certain Charlie Webster. Worth a look out if you're interested in such things. Good chap. That's the sad thing. We talked about you never get. It's rare that you get proper goodbyes in football. But if we get to this summer and Sam Hutchinson does leave, which is probably going to be what happens, it's going to be very sad not to have given him a sort of clap, a farewell, because what a tremendous servant to the club Sam Hutchinson has been.
There's a lot of that in this general kind of environment and pandemic, really, I'd say.
I love how Wallace is just allowed to step about 3 feet out from the wall there to his pressure. Such a wind-up merchant. That is naughty from Hutch, because he has gone to get him. Like, the ball is secondary to the contact he wants to make with him. He wants to put him in his box.
Well, I just completely forgot the fabric of the game and who scored what, but just that field, you just when it kind of sat up just from the volley, I was wondering whether Jao was just going to put his foot through that.
It's a bit of a.
It is a foul.
The sort of foul you can get away with, but the ref's blown up, and we've got on the edge of the D. We've got a free kick. It's that everyone's favourite Dundonian stepped up again.
I thought you were talking about Petr Cech for a second.
Petr Cech, aye.
Petr Cech.
That was the Robert Pires joke, wasn't it? Just Bobby Pires. If you give the anglicised version of his name, sounds a lot less sexy. Bob Pires, yeah. Oh, close. I had the same moment there. Thought it was in for a second. Oh, that's a terrible wall, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose Cech must feel he's got it. He'd rather have a proper look.
Just to keep up with Luke's check of the billboards, Zebra Claims. Remember Zebra Claims?
Zebra Claims.
It's black and white. It's a zebra claim. As they rejected my suggestion for that title.
Did Zebra? I think Zebra Finance have provided.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. Because they also had a giant advertisement drapes over the,
the
cop entrance, didn't they?
They did, didn't they? Yes, yeah. There's a really bizarre one behind the goal at the home end, It's just, I think it's CMA, something or other. Be playing.
I don't know if that's financial or like a bad PlayStation management game. I don't know what it is.
It's what it is the person that paid for the. Oh, it's another one of them Pudil injuries where he's dead. Got completely deaded. Yeah, what it is Brian paid for the ad, then left, and nobody knew what it was, didn't know why they were getting called by Sheffield Wednesday, ignored it, and Sheffield Wednesday were like, should we just write the name of the company in black and white?
Also, while we went to that shop, the Simpkins traditional travel suites. Do you remember Simpkins? Have you had any Simpkins?
I have.
A little sweetie for your travels.
I'm really enjoying Wallace just sat on the advertising hoarding having a little drink.
Lovely.
I don't know that I've ever seen that before. Looks very chilled. Pudil's really not happy with that tackle. Stealing some yards here.
Yeah.
But to give the ball back to them, so it's less exciting. It's less contentious when you do that. Whoa! Throw it back to us from over there. So again, this is the sort of moment, following Wednesday for all these years. I've just recognised who's playing on that left wing for them. I've forgotten his name. He's gone to Everton now, hasn't he? Alex, I think if I want to say his name's Alex.
Alex Song?
No.
Oh, lovely
has shaken off his life-threatening gangrene for a charge up the field. But Joel Campbell
thinks he's won the. Joel Campbell.
Joel Campbell.
Was this prior to his? This would have been because this was 2015. Was this right?
Yeah, 2015.
So this was prior to his 2016 World Cup.
He had a good World Cup, didn't he? He had
a fantastic World Cup for Costa Rica. Yeah.
And I think he traded that into a move where he left Arsenal the next January transfer window. Yeah, CMA 20 is the boring, the most boring hoarding you've ever seen.
Iwobi, Alex Iwobi.
Iwobi, yes, thank you.
Yes, there we go.
Tricky guy. He's just done Hunt about 3 times.
And then ploughed into the side names.
Well, that's
interesting how that would have been had he got on target. I was going to say with Joel Campbell, he had a very Hal Robson-Kanu tournament, didn't he?
Yes, yeah.
I want to get it start trending for just a terminology to say a Hal Robson-Kanu tournament.
Like a Hail Mary pass.
Definition: a tournament where a very average player gets a plum move after a very good tournament.
Yes.
God, he's an average player.
Mr. Robson-Kanu, yes.
Yes. I was annoyed. Was it last season or this season? I think it might have been last season where he scored against us for West Brom.
Yeah.
I was like,
Hal
Robson-Kanu.
I've got a picture of you, stood in the rain cursing his name to the sky. Damn you, Hal Robson-Kanu! They've done a pretty good job keeping Joao quiet, Arsenal, by and large. He's really struggled to get into the game. Despite looking quite bright early doors.
I think there's a lot to be said. Oh, that's so lovely.
Great bit of defending by heart.
Oh, another great ball from Xiao. And here's your man. Here's your man, Mokhtar.
Oh, he's so fast. Oh.
Oh, ooh. Did exceptionally well to do that. I don't know why you're picking up the ball. Didn't you got a touch on it, right?
Yeah. I suppose
Checks
we're
like
leading up. They probably wants to keep us, like, pass it to the man so that we don't time waste or whatever. That acceleration from Helan is extraordinary, though.
yes. And the strength to keep his composure, keep himself on his feet, and that's in that bit there was something special.
And the fact he doesn't really know where the ball's going to go while he's dribbling. Really.
There we go.
Oh,
I was there thinking this is Zhao is having a baby.
Great goal again. Oh. Bannon involved again. Plays it out to Wallace. Not a short corner, though, because Wallace is miles away. Puts in a great cross. And then there's nobody anywhere near Joao. The defending is terrible, because Leuven's had a free header as well.
But it just worked absolutely perfectly. It looked like he was going to swing it across. He brings it back. And then just that little touch and the time to swing it over. Everything changes. Everybody just completely resets in the box. And it just gives a time and space for Zhao to just completely murk his defender and meet a lovely header into the corner.
That's a great goal. And what a time to score it, 40th minute. Perfect. Perfect game management. Changes to the team talk on both sides.
The Sky commentator just said we will be pinching ourselves, and we all did.
I'd just pinch myself again now. Oh, they're bouncing in the streets of Sheffield tonight.
Nice bit of the bouncy.
There was some bouncing almost immediately after the first goal. It was a bouncy time. I remember reading a really lovely piece about us after this game in maybe the Telegraph. Just talking, it was sort of centered around the chant. We play from the back with Joao in attack, and talking about it being like the most tactically astute chant in English football.
It was.
It was really nice. A glowing sort of talking up of what was happening under Carlos, the revolution. I do think this was maybe the start of the mismanaging of Joao, because I think he came out of this game with a lot of praise. And it was the start of that period where he I think he got his tooth knocked out maybe next game or very soon after it.
Did he really? I don't remember that.
That was against Rotherham. He got smacked in the face. And apparently he was quite sulky about that. But yeah, it just... I think Joao should have been the focal point. He should have been the starter a lot more often than he was.
Yeah.
So many physical gifts. But then, if you look at Blackburn, not Blackburn, sorry. Blackburn, yeah, he went on loan to Blackburn and had a very similar kind of time as he's had at Wednesday. And at Reading, he's not exactly, caused any great shakes with his form there. So maybe that's as good as Joao is. Oh.
Well, I think that's the thing about Joao, I'm going to say.
Yeah. But just in terms of that, what might have been.
Do you think there was a bit of especially having such a great game, scoring a goal, capping off a brilliant performance, against, one of the top four teams?
Yeah.
Arguably for the duration of the Premier League, an argument for a team in the top four consistently against Arsenal on a big stage probably went to his head a little bit as well.
Yeah, there's that side of it. There's probably that side of it.
I don't think it's all of it, but I think it's probably a fact,
Yeah, I can see that. One of my sort of takeaways after, because our form was not particularly wonderful through sort of November time and December. I think in a way, this was kind of the, if Carlos had to point to what was he trying to do at Sheffield Wednesday, I think he'd probably show you this game. And I think teams, it was very, a very public display of how good we could be. And I think teams were then using this as the model to go, well, okay, if they're allowed to do what they want to do, this is what they want to do. So how do we stop them doing that? I think we had to try and sort of have another iteration of the kind of model we were playing to after this game, because teams figured us out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's so strange, though, like, when we think about how lethargic things got towards the end of Carlos's time, this is a pretty high energy performance.
It is. It is. I think it's deceptively so, right?
Yeah. And we're very comfortably keeping our shape most of the time, and just...
Like, I don't think you'd ever really consider... It's never really fully considered that a Carvajal team has this much industry, but there is a lot of industry going on. It's just not kind of in your face, I want to say.
Yes. I'd say more so the game we watched last week than this week. The hard work was a bit more evident in that game. But yeah, it's just as you're running miles to make sure you maintain the shape.
The shape, exactly, yeah.
And that's what's forcing Arsenal to break. Hodge on a yellow, just
pulling out the tackle.
Another tackle. I think that one also doesn't look good in replay.
I was just thinking about the Kieran Lee, the lovely kind of. I know they don't score, but I was kind of a little bit concerned there. Kieran Gibbs.
Yeah.
That was Leuven's, that wasn't Lee's. Sorry, I was correcting a bit of the commentary there.
Oh, okay.
I was just recalling, after that Hutchinson tackle, when it kind of fell to Lee and he did that kind of balletic kind of touch, kind of swivels and then kind of falls backward against the player. I was thinking that that does work on unfortunate majority of occasions. I've seen that work for players and for Kieran Lee as well. But the referee was maybe a bit more aware of that one.
Yeah, take the touch and wait for the contact.
Yeah. I thought that was a foul on Hunt.
Yeah, it looked like there's a lot of...
I was going to say that's one of those similar situations.
Touchy-feely business. Hunt's had a good game by and large. We didn't pick it out, but his run before was really nice. Sort of moving in and out to keep both the winger and the fullback chasing after him.
We're right about Haaland being a bit of an unsung hero for this game, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, this potentially could have been a second really good left-sided partnership, because him and Reeder Johnson were a really fun and functional left-wing partnership. Because Haaland was quick enough to make up for any deficiencies Reeder had, and then Reeder was such a kind of power force of nature when he got in the other half. It was it really worked quite well most of the time.
It's a weird kind of give and take Cagney and Lacey relationship they had, right?
Yes. I thought you said Kanye and Lacey there. I was trying to think who Lacey was, but
Kanye West and Lacey Chabert from Lost in Space and Party of Five.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neither of them like Neve Campbell.
Exactly.
It's a longer. I suppose we had the injuries, didn't we?
Yeah, 2 substitutions as well on top of that.
A lot of time added on. We're into the 49th minute now. And we picked up another yellow card. Ross Wallace is booked.
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 Per Mertesacker. Mertesacker is obviously a German measurement. So per Mertesacker. Mentioning Rita Johnson, did you see, just as an absolute kind of slight bit of non-news, was the fact that the Wednesday graphics, whoever doing the graphic design on that was churning out requests from fans for shirts and numbers, and Rita Johnson got in there and got a Johnson free on his on the new kit.
Good man.
It was very endearing.
What a great chap.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the Athletic piece where they sort of quizzed some fans on their feelings?
I did not. I saw the whole thing about the. Did you see the interesting?
Hodge just going on a tear to put some pressure on one man.
I don't know if I saw this in a couple of places, or maybe it was one place that was copied twice. But there was an article from Nancy Frostick of the Athletic, who follows us. I can't believe she follows us.
Yeah,
that is very endearing and very, very honoured for that. Even if she never listens or whatever, I don't care.
It's where all the big news comes from, Luke. Come on.
That's a good point.
Don't play coy.
And they interviewed. So it's to do with interviewing I think the Barnsley owners, who are American, and they were talking about the prospect of. I mean, this is not American in the slightest, being litigious and resorting to litigation. But then there was a comment from another owner, Banner, that saw us over the bar. It was nice. Speculative
effort from Bannon.
Very speculative. It's more of a kind of long cross over the bar, really.
Yeah.
Nice bit of swerve on it, though. And so there was another owner who was interviewed, but not identified, probably for reasons they didn't want to be sued. Referring to Chansirian in a not very positive way, and saying that he's broke and he's an awful character, basically.
Wow.
So that was interesting. So it was actually quoted. There was a screen grab of, and I think it may have been taken out of the article because I went to look at it and it wasn't there.
Oh.
Either that or someone's telling fibs, but I don't think that would happen.
You might have been done by a bit of fake news. You're getting older, Luke.
You think?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Is that fake news?
I don't know. I didn't see it, but it just seems unlikely. Because it's not that we're broke. That's not the problem.
Yes.
We're spending more money. So that if you were broke, you wouldn't spend any money, would you?
No, I don't particularly believe it, but I don't quite know whether someone is
lovely run
a screenshot for as a lie, or whether it's something that was in and redacted.
Maybe I'm not sure.
Anyway, it's not really that important.
It was, but basically one of the things that was asked in the questionnaire article was, what do Wednesday need? And it was basically midfield, helping midfield, and strikers were top.
Yes.
Goalkeepers was very slight, actually, which is interesting. But I'm just looking at this, and what you would like is some of that reader attitude, or a sort of Rob Jones type character, some hulking behemoth who'll win the header for you in both boxes.
The interesting thing I kind of want to say with this is that, like, I think a lot of Wednesday fans kind of want to see us imposing a game plan and a strategy upon the other team. And that would say that we need more of a midfield identity and more of a hold in the middle of the park, which I completely agree with. But the problem is we really just need to just get everybody in on this. We need to get every position to be improved.
Yeah.
So, again, you've got to prioritize. So, again, that's all it is. It's just, we're just prioritizing. Like, because I think from that I saw Nancy Frostic's tweet saying, I'm surprised that Wednesday fans think they need midfield more than strikers. Or that was them saying, she was surprised that people are prioritizing that above strikers, but I guess there's an interesting mentality, because I'm wondering and thinking about, can we want to score more goals. We want to have football that's entertaining. Goals are entertaining. Goals are the most entertaining piece about football. We want to see more goals.
Yes.
But we're not going to be put in this position. I think it's extremely unlikely, especially under Gary Monk, that we're going to become a team that looks to just go and outscore the opposition with a kind of...
Yeah.
But also, I would say for that, maybe I think we do need a better spine.
Well, I think all football fans would probably like to improve all bits of the team all the time.
I've said that numerously. I remember when I said that on...
there's the third.
There we go. Beautiful.
A big cheese.
Lovely.
So hard.
Lovely.
Trapped in the net.
Bundled in the net.
This is a lovely goal again, by the way. Really lovely set piece
celebrate in the goal, I think. I'd like to see that more often. Just everybody runs into the goal and chucks themselves into the net to break it.
And who, by the way, takes this gorgeous feathered volley touch to set up the goal? Tom Lees. Can you imagine him? Look at that cushioned. It's perfect.
Culture.
The most shocking thing watching these two games is how far Tom Lees has dropped. Honestly, it's the thing that stands out more tan anything.
I've got a new nickname for Tom Lees. It's the Tory Minister of Culture.
Well, he could have filled that role at this period of time, apparently. Don't know what he is now.
I believe in art. I just don't believe we should spend any money on it. It's Tom Lees, Tory Minister of Culture.
So
it's going to be interesting
to go through some of the figures. That's a bit of the survey. So 46% said central midfield and 36% said strikers. So most people think midfield and strikers, to be fair. Mm-hmm. But it's weird that only 26% of people think that Cameron Dawson is the right choice to be Wednesday's number one, and nobody basically picked goalkeeper as an area that we need to sort out in the summer.
So how were the figures for defence? Sorry.
They're so small they don't put a centre back looks like less than 10% basically.
Yeah.
It's such a small chunk of the pie that they don't put they don't put a number to it. But it's the biggest, it's the third biggest, but it is massively.
Seemingly from Tom Howson, he was saying that basically Wednesday do have some money to spend. Should we be allowed to spend it? Should whatever happens with FFP and lawsuits and the courtroom that now football is played on. But it sounds like basically we're only going to spend very limited fees from now on.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good idea, and probably also might look a hell of a lot better in this kind of post-pandemic environment that we're coming into.
We sort of looked at it, haven't we? We've the last few weeks of the podcast and the last few years of the business we've done. Almost all the good signings have been free, and almost always when we've spent money, it's been a waste of money. So, yeah, I think maybe that makes sense. Not paying out transfer fees.
Yeah, But we're going to have to do... Oh, my word. I can't believe that's 94.
Oh, he should have buried it. Great cross again. Bannon.
We're just having these moves where we take... It's just 2 to 3 passes, and we absolutely just carve them open.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime we flick that switch and go from keep ball to progression, we do what we want, basically.
It's like Arsenal were just expecting us to just do one touch, like one cross for an attack or one pass for an attack. It's not. No, actually.
As you say, I mean, the lazy assumption is, Arsenal must have played so badly, but we've just played so well. Yeah. We've been ruthlessly efficient. Because neither team's really had much in the way of attack. It's just every time we've got in their box, pretty much, we've scored a goal. And they've not got in our box at all since the opening, 15 minutes.
I'm glad you picked this game, Rich. I'm very happy with this one.
Thanks. It's been an enjoyable watch. We're still got a little chunk to go, but...
Well, it feels like it's over. We might as well might as well start up the car and beat the traffic, Rich?
But I don't think, from what I remember, I don't think we were like biting our nails and letting them come onto us. So it's quite a whole match performance in that way. I do remember.
But now it's sorry, go on. I was going to say now it's becoming that kind of relaxed confidence.
Yeah, we're time wasting by playing in their half, without wanting to kind of break through lines and make chances necessarily. But we're keeping the ball in their half where it's as far away from our goal as possible, and also in our possession. It's the best of both worlds, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because I would say my biggest criticism of Mr. Monk is the fact that we seem to be so content to cling on after a 1-0. Going up 1-0, and it's despite the fact we've been caught so many times, we still insist on clinging on after going a single goal up. It's bad from Czech, the third goal. It's pretty dreadful.
Yeah,
it's sort of Hodge would have been thinking,
just the nous and the positioning from Tom Lees. Just
fantastic.
Be dragging off that last man, just over the over the kind of right side of the pitch from the attacking thing. So just kind of drift, just give a little, it gives a little signal to Bannon. Obviously they've practiced it, but he just kind of, it's almost like Kieran Lee, kind of movement to just
the movement's great.
Drift into that space and get that cross across, as you said, with that feather touch cross.
Yeah.
Tory Minister of Culture, Tom Lees.
Tory Minister of Culture, Tom Lees. No, but like watching it back, they're obviously watching the goal quite often just to try and see if there's a question of offside. But even looking at that, like Tom Lees has stood about a yard off the line, maybe not a yard. Full disclosure, Luke, I'm not sure I know how big a yard is.
I don't think anyone does. I think maybe you think a yard is a meter, which I think
it's about a meter. Yeah,
isn't it? I think
I'm much more comfortable with a meter It's a half a Mertesacker. He stands half a Mertesacker off the line.
Well, I'll be honest. A yard is 0.914 meter. So it's almost as good as a...
Oh, pretty much. Maybe he was a yard then. He's a yard off the line.
A yard is as good as a Mertesacker.
Yes.
As Dave Jones said to Arsene Wenger that time.
But that means he's full pelt by the time the other players have just kind of start moving because he's given himself a head start. That's, either he's thought that himself or he's been told to do that. Either way, that's a level of thinking that doesn't seem to be happening in our set pieces at this point in time. Well, nothing's happening at this point in time, but you know what I mean.
Oh, lovely bit of shoulder.
Oh, booked.
Glenn Louvens.
They brought on a pencil of a man.
It's another child.
Bielik comes on for Glenn Kamara.
You could do, if there's like an Arsenal TV channel, they could do a Where Are They Now with all of the Arsenal youngsters, couldn't they?
Yeah.
And they could do one of those like nostalgia shows with like prominent Arsenal fans remembering Arsenal kids.
Yes, yeah. And
do you remember Alex Iwobi? Do you remember him? Do you remember he was going to be the next big thing and then he wasn't? And
there's just so many of those players.
I know. It's just
endless. Series 27.
I don't know if you remember, there was like there was an electro pop like indie artist called Friars.
Oh yeah,
remember him? I remember him being interviewed once, and he compared himself to a European wunderkid bought for an invisible transfer fee by Arsene Wenger.
He's an Arsenal fan, isn't he? I think.
All right, that's probably why he did it.
So. But yeah, that's very good. Actually, yeah, I do follow. That's someone I follow on social media, I think, in the hope that eventually they do. They put together those glimpses of promise into a wholehearted album somewhere down the line.
Because he only did like 2 albums, didn't he? And that was it. I think he was.
Yeah.
Nothing since. Welcome back to Luke and Rich. Remember, mid-noughties indie that never went anywhere. Do you remember the Fixers? They were an indie band from Oxford who were very good. You should listen to the Fixers. They were good. They had 1 album. I remember I think the Guardian gave it 5 stars.
Oh lordy, that's a good. Hutchinson just watching that onto his thigh is just. Oh, I hadn't appreciated just how wonderful that little touch he took was. Paying homage to Darren Pearce as he scored.
I love the slow motion of those goals where like players crash into each other and then just slide into the net. It's a bit Burnout Paradise like, isn't it? Like there's the aftermath of the crash, the explosions.
Do you think Hutch is constantly playing football like the level of Burnout where you had to cause as much damage as possible?
Yes.
He's just racking up record points.
We're going to create a bigger pile-up.
Oh, man. Yeah, playing it out in their half is such a nice way to end the game.
What a lovely touch as well. And then a nibbly... Oh, nearly.
It was, good. It was a pretty decent cross, but Czech was out nicely to it.
Have we made any substitutions?
Not yet. Although Ross Wallace was looking a bit like he might want to be subbed off.
I'm kind of hoping now we do make some substitutions, just so I want to see some
new faces,
players of yore that I kind of forgot.
I think it'll happen.
Okay,
I think you'll get that chance.
Thanks, Rich.
So again, we're sort of just letting Arsenal have 2/3 of the pitch, and then the second they come into our third, putting the brakes on. That was Mancini's big thing at Man City, was the 1/3. Let them have 2/3 and then kill them in your third. Couple of passes.
Mancini. Whoa. Mancini. Whoa.
Mancini. Have you been... I suppose he's not doing it quite so much now, but did you watch any of Liam Gallagher's Wash Your Hands videos?
No, I did not. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at you. Like I was.
No, it's fine.
Ridiculed, like you made it. Like
it was going around. It was going around the socials.
I enjoyed
I think, sorry, Luke, just in terms of spotting faces from yesterday, I think there's a Sergio Bush on the bench.
Oh, my word. Sergio Bush.
Yes.
What a
that
brilliant
would really whet the appetite in terms of, a name from way back when.
Do you remember him missing an absolute sitter was it in the cup against Newcastle?
To be honest, I remember very little about Sergio Bush.
That's a perfectly fine answer to reply with. Don't worry.
I do remember somebody on the cop going, "It's bus. If you're in this country, it's pronounced bus." Just flat out refusing to go along with the Bush.
and that
did he miss the sitter against?
Newcastle.
Oh.
In the cup, from close range, he skied one over the bar, I believe.
Was that the one where...
But I think we had a couple of instances. I think he had a couple of sitters he missed. And I seem to remember feeling and saying, and maybe other people saying, oh, that's kind of a nail in the coffin of his Wednesday career.
Mm.
But then he came back and then missed another sitter. and then that eventually it was actually the nail in his Wednesday career.
That's it. He's really blown it now. Yeah, did he? I think he did get a couple of goals for us, didn't he?
Yeah, but not much. It was almost like a Bartosz Luzarski kind of level of goal rate. And I preferred Bartosz Luzarski.
Oh, yeah.
I remember after one game on Al's Talk where I think he scored and somebody said, reminds me of a young David Hurst. Oh.
So, played 9 times for Wednesday and got 1 goal.
1 goal. Who's that? Luzarski or Bush?
Bush. So 2014-15 season, he played 7 times and got 1 goal. And then 2015-16, which would be this season, he played 2 times in the league. 1 other. Don't know what that would be. I guess that's the League Cup.
Did the same character?
Oh, maybe we're going to see the other. Oh no, maybe the other will be the miss against Newcastle. We beat Newcastle in the previous round, didn't we?
Mm.
With a McGugan effort.
Lewis McGugan.
That was weird.
Do you think McGugan sounds like it should be a surname primarily for Liverpudlians?
I'd be happy for it to be. Do you care to explain your workings?
It just sounds funny if you say it in a Scouse accent.
McGugan. It sounds more like a euphemism for something.
It does.
I've got a really itchy McGugan today. Honestly, I can't sit straight.
I was just going to think.
I was up half the night with my McGugan.
I was just going to think it was a name for a large dog. I've left a McGugan for you.
There's a massive McGugan in there. I'm not going back in.
You don't think it was Basler?
Oh, dear.
Wow. Like, we're getting to the 68th minute and Arsenal are 3-0 down and they're getting ideas of thinking maybe we should try attacking.
Yes. They've got down the left wing a couple of times, haven't they, this in the last minute or two. But yeah, there's basically 70 minutes have passed before they think about having a try. Oof. Decent effort.
That was a good move, and it was
Flamini really look at the poise to wait for the options to open up. He picked the worst one. He picked the only marked man out of 3 or 4 Arsenal.
I know. I was going to say, even though he got the better of Pudil was on him still. You know?
Yeah. So yeah, this is, by no means are we under the cosh, but there's a bit of pressure now from Arsenal. They're putting some balls in. They had a couple of corners in close succession.
They're creating some space and carving some space up for themselves.
Yeah, but this is where hopefully we make some subs to kind of freshen things up, because we've got 3. Maybe we didn't make any.
And hopefully do, because I want to see some old players, Rich.
I know.
The only thing I was going to say about Liam Gallagher, the only thing I enjoyed on Liam Gallagher on Twitter was his spat with Mark Lanigan. That was fun.
I wasn't aware of that, but that's
I recently texted my friends I met on the train from the Bay Area, Melody. I was checking in with them, just seeing how they're doing, because they were, in California, they were sheltering in place pretty quickly. So they had a good handle on things. Unlike the rest of the states. And I was asking how they were and said not much. We're all a bit bored, but we did enjoy the Mark Lanigan and Liam Gallagher fight on Twitter.
Well, Liam Gallagher was doing at the start of the kind of, the wash your hands message getting out there. There was lots of different songs that you could do it to, and obviously he'd picked up that some people were suggesting Oasis songs, so he would do his videos where he would do a terrible rendition of the Oasis song and do a really bad job of washing his hands, like just spending like 9 seconds just kind of rubbing the palms together under a tap and then flicking them dry. Just not doing any, not actually obeying any of the stuff, and then he would sort of end it with like "wash your effing hands" or whatever. So yeah, it's enjoyable. If you want to waste 5 minutes or so, he did a fair few of them at the beginning of the lockdown. Still no subs. Not even seen anybody sort of
these blooming subs
like warming up. Flamini's having a bigger influence on the game. I don't know what. I think he retired at the end of this season, so he, he's got some good legs on him. He's still the 70. It's the 73rd minute now, and he's having a bigger part to play than he's had in the previous 70 minutes. Maybe that's just how long it takes him to warm up nowadays. But he's stroking it about, making things happen. Oh, Helan catching them on the break.
Beautiful. Oh, yeah, here we go.
Oh, there you go.
I'm surprised he didn't I'm surprised he didn't get the ball from that, the second player before he just pushed for
shoved him over. Pudil's looking a bit knackered to me. I think that was a pretty lethargic clearance. He had an awful lot of space he could have moved into, and he just kind of like hoofed it forward and handed away possession. And it's where the gap seems to be appearing is between him and Helan. That's where they're finding the joy, that whatever minimal joy they're finding there. Oh, here we go.
Oh, Jose.
And Arsene, head in his hands. He's heard the song. He knows that you never get past Semedo. He's giving up, saying, "Lads, we might as well pack up and go home." So who are we going to? One of the other midfielders? Hutch he's been all action. Oh, Barry Bannon.
Wee Baz.
That's a change, isn't it? The days when Barry Bannon would ever get subbed off. I just remember that's one of the things that aged really, really quickly, wasn't it? People sort of going, why do we need Bannon? We've got a lot of midfielders.
Well, that's what happened when we signed him, right? It was like, we have a lot of stuff, that's why we signed him more. And how wrong we were.
I know. Yeah, so in the weird way that midfields work, Semedo's sitting deeper than Hutch, and Hutch is doing the running around, having been on the pitch for 75 minutes. Good stuff. It's Kieran Lee and Hutch doing the pressing, and Semedo sitting.
It's difficult to know with Semedo.
He's literally hugging Giroud now.
And Giroud gives him a lovely little push.
Semedo told to go and keep an eye on Giroud, and he's like, well, tell you a good way to keep an eye on someone, hold on to them. Cling to them for dear life. What were you going to say? Sorry, Luke, I interrupted you.
I was going to say it's weird with Semedo to know. Like, he's a very incredibly fit, very positive mentality person. Mm-hmm. I know there's a bit of a mentality, and I think we felt that, like, at the Championship, and maybe at that time in his career was maybe a little bit past him. But he's not that far off, really.
I thought Dave Jones made that decision prematurely, because I always thought in League One, one of the things that marked Semedo out was not just his hard work and his sort of brilliant shielding job, but he was a pretty good passer of the ball. Like, he moved the ball well, and he never looked harried. And it felt strange that, you know, Dave Jones immediately made that decision that he was not good enough for the Championship and basically froze him out. And I think sort of confidence-wise, he never quite recovered from that, Semedo. And yeah, you just wonder, those kind of parallel universe sort of things, if Jones hadn't sort of broken up that team as quickly and had a bit more faith in the squad that brought us up, whether he could have coped better with it. Hutch went in for another tackle. It was a very good tackle, but another hard tackle. And he's another one that's injured.
I was going to say, it looks like he's got a divot on his knee, but I imagine that's possibly maybe from some scarring from some surgery, I guess, or I don't know. That might just be complete bullshit from me. I apologize.
He did get sort of stepped on a bit. It's similar to Fletcher. He's somebody who goes down with what looks like a career-threatening injury every single game. Yes. And sometimes he goes off. Sometimes he runs around for the next 60 minutes absolutely fine. It's always a toss-up. Yeah. Underappreciated Semedo, because I think he never let us down, really. Like, when he was called upon this season to do a job, he stepped in and did a good job still. Although most often it was this kind of a role he was stepping into, just kind of coming on to close the door late in the game. Doesn't look good.
I'll let the owl on the socks.
Yes. This is where it should... Yeah, the old owl. It should make such a difference, players coming off other bits of the pitch, shouldn't it? Because Hodge has got a long, long way to go to get off this pitch. But it doesn't seem to make a big difference. I suppose because half the time they just walk off at the normal bit anyway. It's been a rule that's been largely ignored, I think. Oh, McGugan's on for him. Okay, there we go. Luke's getting his changes he wished for.
I kind of wish I hadn't seen these players, though. Apart from Semedo.
So out of the two, you didn't want to see one of the two, and that's Who could a third possibly be? Wenger gesticulating.
Did you see the child in the crowd, the young Wednesdayite with the poodle McGoogle mohawk?
I like McGoogle.
It's a Scottish search engine.
I was about to say the same thing.
I know, because it's a very obvious, kind of cheap, low-hanging gag.
Or
that's the type we go for on Different Gravy.
Great minds think alike. That's a thing that people say too.
Fools and liberals, yeah.
Oh, my Google. My Google. I would do. That's one player I wish we would have signed at some point for the chant. Omar Bogle. That's one of my favourite chants in recent memory.
It's a fantastic chant.
The only thing is, everybody would want to do a bit like Hey Jude. Everybody wants to do the Jude, Jude, and everyone would want to do the breakaway from the quiet line. What was the show Matt Lucas and David Williams did it?
Little Britain?
No, before that. It was like Pop Stars.
Right, okay. I know the one you're talking about. I don't know the name of it. Yeah.
They just did one where it's like, it was Graham Coxon doing that album, and he's like, they said I could do the album, and they came back the next day, and I still hadn't figured out how to plug in the piano. It was a good series.
I take it that was Matt Lucas doing Graham Coxon.
Yeah, I think so.
Or was it? I don't know.
I think it's David Williams, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other one that was really good was they did Elton John. Matt Lucas was Elton John. And he was going, Bernie, I'll just turn up. Bernie's written the lyrics. So I'll just do the music to them. So he sent me this. And he's like, sorry, Elton, I couldn't do any writing today. Just very funny. That was a good show. I can't remember. It's really annoying me that I can't remember what it was called.
I think it speaks a lot about where we are in this game. For Wednesday to both ease their foot on the gas with need to do anything, and me and you easing our foot off needing to talk about the football game itself.
Rock Profile is what it was called.
We're just gonna rock profile it around just to waste some time.
Arsenal are providing so little in the way of threat that
I like the Joe Wildsmith. I like that keeper outfit.
It's nice, isn't it?
It's a bit. I you know, I'd like it better if instead of lines it was just tree branches.
Oh,
because it's a bit camo themed, but it's not quite as naff.
Yes.
I think if you just did some tree branches, it could be quite classy.
That's
you watch them make it, and I'll come out and I'll be like, no, it just looks like naff camo.
McGugan as a little. That was very nonchalant from McGugan.
Speculative McGoogle.
Oh, he drops a McGoogle, sends two defenders for lunch.
Took a McGoogle whack at it.
Oh, top knot, Atty.
Oh, Atty with the man bun. I don't remember Atty man bun.
I don't either. I remember long-haired Atty. But this is mid-range.
Mid-range Atty.
Yeah, Albanian samurai. Atty knew you.
It's like a 0.5 Murtasaka Atty.
It's a measurement for hair length as well.
Hair length and offsides, I think. It's a measurement used purely just for offsides and hair lengths.
There's Joao getting his big clap from everyone.
Of course, the difficulty with VAR is if his hair length is offside, then that just gets too confusing. That's actually Mertesacker squared.
Oh, that's great.
What a header.
Such a good header. I've got to say, I'm loving this look from Ati. Sweat back. Yeah, it suits him.
Adi seems to be, from what I know about him as a character, seems to be someone who everybody loves at the club.
Yes.
But he seemed to be someone who would tie together, like...
Oh.
He would be someone who I think he would tie together some of the fringe kind of characters in the dressing room, I think.
Yeah. So that was an interesting thing. Semedo and Louvens have been interviewed lately and both kind of hinted towards a kind of negative group in the dressing room, and the two of them being a big part of that sort of negative group not running the show. I don't know whether that's classic, when I was there, that this sort of thing didn't happen, or whether that speaks to something that was really happening. But that's an interesting bit of internal politics to pick up from both of them. I think they both cast themselves as almost the sole, the sole savior from these nefarious elements.
I was just daydreaming about if I could have an alarm wake up. That's the lady announcer at Hillsborough saying that there'll be no exit via Herries Road. I think it'd be really nice and comforting.
All licensed bars closed now, please. All licensed bars closed now.
Yeah, it'd just be an app where you just get like one of those things. Sounds like it's over a PA system.
Yes, a bad PA system.
It'd be a really relaxing thing to wake up
to.
Yeah.
The sounds of nature, specifically the nature around Hillsborough Stadium. Some of the magpies, that's the noise they make to attract a mate. Doo doo. Could the owner of the car?
What a tackle! What a tackle!
Great.
Tommy Lees. Highlighting the Tory Minister of Culture, Tom Lees' career.
Oof, Louvens nearly got caught there. Oh, Pudil's really enjoyed annoying these two on the right wing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why they got the throw in from that one, personally.
No idea. Just that time in the game.
Sympathy throw in.
Yeah, sympathy throw in.
The laws decree that once every 90 minutes, the referee may give a sympathy throw in.
Oh, so I think a fun thing to watch here, maybe we should have a small bet on it. Will Ati touch the ball before the end of the game? He's not touched it yet.
What are you going for?
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say yes, just to be contrary. And also that would help that way.
You maybe only get your quid back for betting that he touches it, but
all right.
I think my odds are slimmer, sorry. But
how about next time I see you and we're both in the KFC, I will pay for your towering of your zinger.
Oh, that's about right, I think. That's better.
So I've said yes. Okay. So we're going to see whether Adi knew you for the sake of a hash brown.
For the sake of and some cheese.
Don't forget cheese. Sorry, don't forget the cheese.
Sleep on that slice of cheese, please.
See, the funny thing is, I don't actually like it within the burger. I like taking it off and dipping it in the baked beans.
Oh no, I love it.
I know people love it. I'm just glad it's a thing. Hopefully it's still a thing whenever I can safely get back to the UK.
I think I just would like it. Almost any food stuff I would pay 40p to have hash brown and cheese added to. I'd like it to be taken up by, the wider culture. You've absolutely. I'm buying your hash brown, by the way, because Atty, it's pretty much done an Atty.
It's a beautiful little run.
It was a gorgeous run, and he kept the ball. More than can be said for a Hunt. Handing away possession. Should have headed for the corner flag.
What type of possession?
You what? He handed away possession.
I thought you said Hemingway possession.
No. He handed away possession. Please stick with me, Luke. I know it's late.
You're dropping a very literary reference. Ernest Hemingway possession.
Tom Lee's spooning out an Anne Rind of a ball. Oh, taking an absolute Dostoevsky to take this throw in. Oh dear. I'll stop. It's fine.
Welcome back to Different Gravy, where we both enjoy our own jokes and the sounds of our own voices.
Oh dear. 2 minutes of the added time to go now. Arsenal still not had they had one shot, did they? Did it go straight?
I think they've had a couple of shots. Do we get a bit of it'll just be the game, won't it?
Oh, Tom Lees, what a tackle.
That was beautiful. I think he was slightly ahead of me on that one.
Oh, he did give the ball away though, so you get limited credit for making up for your own mistakes. Gatti hounding after that ball.
Of course, the Arsenal fans had a literary reference, a Woby Dick.
Yes. The chance of the game for Arsenal fell to Joel Campbell, and he spunned it wide.
When Iwobi spurned the chance wide, the Arsenal fans would be like, "Oh, call me Ishmael."
Blimey, Charlie, call me Ishmael. As they thumb their braces. And reach for another spoon of cockles.
Where are my cockles?
Where are my cockles? Oh, my whiskers. Where are my cockles? It's all over.
It's all over.
Tremendous. Now we can watch the highlights.
You've got the same thing coming up as well. That's quite funny.
Oh, that algorithm is so clever.
I was kind of hoping we'd get a little bit of the aftermatch, a little bit of sports.
Post-match interview, a
little bit of who would they give it to? Who would they give the man of the match to?
Ooh, it's a good question. Who would be your man of the match? Bannon or Wallace, I think.
Yeah, Wallace was. It's kind of forgetting how good Wallace was. I also think about, Zhao was very good as well. It's a lot of good performances.
The thing is, from growing up with Football Manager or Championship Manager, I thought that the man of the match was like a really big thing. It would get saved on the match day record and stuff. It's not, is it? Nobody cares.
Oh.
After the game, nobody cares. I'm just wondering if anywhere will actually say Sheffield Wednesday versus Arsenal 2015 man of the match.
MOTM or MOM.
Don't know. I'm not feeling hopeful here.
Okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter much, Rich. But anyway, now 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago, almost 4.5 years ago.
That was definitely, it was so that flow we got into, and that was the great moments under Carlos were all that kind of, we're passing around, we're looking for spaces, and then just kind of going, no, we've hit 3 passes in quick succession, and now we've got a chance out of it. It was just so lovely to watch. Mm-hmm. I'm on the Sky Sports site. That feels like the most.
I wish I never brought this up.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry you did too. I'm sorry on your behalf.
Well, I just had that moment of thinking, are we done? And I'm like,
we are, don't we? That's fine.
So I guess so. Okay. Well, that was a real joy to watch, Rich. Thank you for suggesting that, and I hope people at home enjoyed listening along to this while they watched and that back again. Or
I hope so. I hope it was a treat. I very much enjoyed it. We might do something similar again. I think, I was, my worry, and I think it did play out to an extent. My worry was that kind of, it was all over bar the shouting fairly early on in the second half. We did such a number.
Yes.
So something where we kind of score in the last second and it's all up in the air till that point does, the drama is considerably higher. Ross Wallace, man of the match for Sky.
Ross Wallace, man of the match. That's pretty fair.
You can find an interview on Sky's live blog of the match. So
there we go.
Maybe we'll know if the championship's going to come back or not by next week. Maybe.
I want to say yes, but I feel like I'm going to say no.
Do we know when the vote is?
I think it's soon. Don't know. They're supposed to be back in on training on Monday.
They are. But that doesn't mean that necessarily the games will be played, because it's just one step, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think Nixon was saying they were hoping for the weekend of the 12th, but that's looking a stretch. It's maybe going to be the weekend after, maybe.
So, we'll see. Okay, well, let's keep our nose to the ground, our ears pricked, and our eyes peeled, and we'll be back with you soon enough. Cheerio, folks.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye. Bye.